Okay, so just sit yourself on your lift and come into a good cross-leg position. So just feel that you're really giving yourself an even and balanced base beneath your seat bones. Just have a little wriggle about, grip around your knees and lift and open the chest. Draw the chest upwards, lift and open the front chest, drawing the shoulders down away from your ears. Spend a few moments taking some conscious breaths. So filling the lungs all the way to the periphery of the lungs, to the lining of the lungs. And although we breathe every second of every day, sometimes when we come and do this conscious breathing, it suddenly feels really different. Almost as though we've forgotten to breathe throughout the day. So this conscious breath just highlights the energetic connection. So when we inhale, we draw in the universal energy that surrounds us. In yogic terms, it's prana. In scientific terms, if you like, it's oxygen. Draw the breath in, and that breath becomes part of us. We absorb that breath through the blood, and the blood is pumped around the body, and it feeds and energizes every living cell within the body. And then as we exhale, it's effectively us returning our individual energy to the cosmic energy. It's our connection with everything that surrounds us and supports us and sustains us. Breath is our gift, or the gift we're given, that keeps us alive. So we should celebrate it. Bring your hands into Namaste, press the palms together, lengthen from the armpits into the elbows, draw the elbows in towards each other so that you press into the heels of the hands, and from the heels of the hands press up into the fingertips. Just look at something on the floor ahead of you that doesn't move, keeping the eyes still in the sockets. Draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Soften your jaw and your tongue and your throat. Notice that when you soften your jaw and your tongue, you soften around the forehead and in the eye sockets. And with an exhalation, just gently allow your eyes to softly close. So long, slow, deep, deliberate in-breaths, long, slow, deep, deliberate out-breaths. So our in-breath represents our commune with the universe. We accept in the energy that surrounds us. As we exhale, we give our energy back to the universe. So like all living things that relies on oxygen through lungs, we inhale oxygen, use that to power the brain and every living cell in the body, every organ, every cell of the skin. And then we return carbon dioxide. And so we rely on plant life, such as trees, to convert our carbon dioxide back into oxygen. So as we intake oxygen, trees intake carbon dioxide, and they exhale oxygen. So we're interconnected with everything around us, with our ecosystem. We're a perfectly balanced organism on this floating rock, infinite universe. So every time we inhale, we're accepting a gift from the universe. Gently draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone. Just hold on to that feeling as you release your hands down to meet your knees, palms facing upwards. And then just raise your head and open your eyes. Grip around your knees, lift and open your chest, drive your spine upwards. Take a good, strong, deep inhalation in through the nose. And then with an exhalation, turn to the right side. As you turn, just observe the feeling, connect with the feeling of the pose. So feel as you turn that there is kind of receptors within the body that observe, that kind of respond to the pose. So draw your attention inwards to the feeling of the pose, to the breath, so that we can start to align that disparate body with the disparate breath, with the disparate mind. So rather than being scattered across the page, those three words and entities of body, mind, and breath start to align on the page. So feel what is happening as you turn, using the breath, using the out breath to turn a little more deeply. Come back to the center, grip around your knees, lift and open the chest, drive the spine upwards. Take a good, strong, deep inhalation in through the nose. And then with the exhalation, turn to the left. Again, just feeling that unique moment of feeling, observing how the body responds to the kind of gross action, but also feel beyond the gross action into the subtle actions in the feet and in the legs and in the hips and in the torso and the shoulders and the arms and the neck and the head. Feel the skin from the face to the feet. Observe the difference between the skin that connects to our clothing and the skin that's exposed to the air. Come back to the center and then come off your lift and then come on to back down into sit down onto your heels and then lift and open the chest. Can you feel the previous pose still kind of within the spine? So as you come out of the pose, it leaves an echo of its pose within, and it's like an energy. So draw the breath in through the nose and out through the nose, drawing our senses inward through the breath, through the physical body, come forward into Adho Mukha Virasana, and notice how that previous pose feeds into this pose. Sitting back on your heels, just bring the head down. Feel that you can stretch out of the last pose. So exploring the new sensations, continuing to focus on your breath. Extending the arms, keeping the arms straight, locking the elbows inwards, hitting the outer elbows inwards, feeling how the hands connect with the floor. Because if the hands don't fully connect with the floor when we come up into dog down, it becomes heavy on the shoulders, heavy on the heels of the hands. So feel the heels of the hands press into the floor and stretch the finger knuckles away from the heels of the hands. Come up onto your knees, turn your toes under, have your hands as wide apart as the mat. Really feel that you're pressing the palm skin into the floor. Feel that there's equal space in between the fingers. There'll be more space between the index finger and the thumb, of course, but try and make equal space between the fingers. Turn your toes under and then come up into dog down. Andrew, keep going into Supta Padottanasana rather than dog down. But just observe how the stretch of Adho Mukha Virasana remains as an echo through the body, and use that echo as energy. Push the heels of the hands into the floor, press the palm skin into the floor, press the finger knuckles into the floor, press the fingertips into the floor. Lengthen from the wrists into the elbows, into the armpits into the hips. Feel the new sensations within the pose. Turn the frontal thigh muscles inwards after activating those thighs. Hit the kneecaps through to the backs of the knees. Breathe nice and softly in through the nose and out through the nose. Keep the arms really straight by locking the outer elbows in. Listen to the sound of the breath. Keep the breath as deep and soft as it was right at the beginning. So the more you tadassanaize your legs, the more you can lift the seat bones away from the heels. The more you can lift the seat bones away from the heels, the more you can draw into the shoulder blade region. Just observe the feeling of the pose. Step forward, come up into a standing position. And then come up into, go down into Uttanasana. So your feet are as wide apart as your mat. You've got a couple of blocks for your hands. So your feet are as wide apart as the mat, so slightly wider than hip width apart, turning your toes inwards, stamping the big toe into the floor, stretching the little toes out to the side, tightening the kneecaps, lifting and opening the chest. Have your hands on your hips, hit the elbows towards each other, and then lift the skin of the front chest. And then keep lifting the skin of the front chest, hinging at the hips. And then find blocks underneath your hands. Beyond fingertips, lift and open the chest, turning, so activating the thighs, the kneecaps, turning the thighs inwards, lifting the seat bones up towards the ceiling, projecting the chin and the chest forwards. So just feeling the echo of the previous pose and connecting with that previous pose within this present pose. Connecting with the feeling of the pose. Bring that, and that feeling brings energy into the pose. So activate the kneecaps, activate the thighs, lifting up towards the top of the leg. Turn the thighs inwards so you can hit the heels outwards, so that you can lift the seat bones a little bit higher away from the heels. And then with the seat bones really lifting, see if you can action the shoulder blade area, draw the shoulder blades in. If you've got problems with your back, stay at this stage. If you don't, keep activating the legs evenly and reach down to the floor, or just come down onto a lower edge of your blocks beyond fingertips. Breathe in nice and softly. Just feel the difference in this pose. Maybe there's a new feeling that you didn't expect. Maybe there's a feeling that suggests that you don't go further into the pose, or maybe there's a feeling that suggests that you should go further into the pose. So activating the legs. Don't let the legs hit forwards, hit the legs back so that your weight is in your heels. And then turn the thighs inwards so that you can lift the seat bones upwards, projecting the chin and the chest forwards. Maintaining the breath. If there's no problems with your back, then you might want to go a little further. So you need to broaden the abdomen from the belly button out to the side ribs. If you can't feel that you can do that abdominally, then get hold of the abdomen and broaden it out as you come down a little further, keeping the back straight. Reach around the backs of the heels and pull the elbows out to the side. Again, observe the new sensations within the pose. Stamp the heels down, but try and pick them up at the same time. Let your head hang down, draw your body through the legs. Keeping the legs activated in Tadasana, turning, lifting the kneecaps, the thigh muscles, hitting the shins back, turning the thighs inwards, the shins inwards, feeling the backs of the thighs broaden. So the action and reaction. Okay, and then just gently release, bring your hands into your hips and then come up into a standing position. Bend your knees on the way up if you need to. And then just come up into Tadasana. So in Tadasana, just observe the feeling of the pose. So observe the feeling from the previous pose. Activate the legs, tighten the kneecaps, activate the thighs, turn the thighs inwards. lift and open the chest. Breathe in nice and softly, in through the nose and out through the nose, feeling the skin, feeling the flesh and the muscle and the bones. Breathe in nice and softly in through the nose and out through the nose. Bring your arms out nice and wide in towards your chest, and then step or jump nice and wide. Try not to step on your blocks, just move those out of the way. We don't need those for this. Just go wide. Turn your left toes in and your right leg and foot all the way out, mindfully aligning this front heel with the instep of the back leg. And just stay at this center point and reactivate the thighs. So with this back foot, stamp the little toe into the floor so you can suck this outer thigh in. Turn the whole of this thigh, pressing the little toe into the floor so you can suck the outer thigh inwards. And then keeping that activation, come over down onto your shin. So press the little toe side of this right foot really firmly into the floor so you can feel the outer thigh sucking inwards. It's the same action, or it assists the action of pushing that front leg buttock bone forward. But resist it with the back leg. Press the little toe really firmly into the floor of the back leg so you suck this outer thigh in, and almost trying to press this back leg towards the wall behind you. Turn the chest up to face the ceiling. Breathe evenly, just as you were in swastikasana. Maintaining the connection of the feeling of the pose. So observe new feelings. Observe the feelings of the previous poses. Come up from the center. Swap the feet around, turn your right toes in and your left leg and foot all the way out, and then come back to this center point. Just feel the echoes of the previous pose and use those echoes to power this side. So sucking the outer thighs in by stamping the little toes down. Rotating the front thigh, and then just reach over and find the shin, but activating those outer thighs. Lifting and opening the chest, turning the chest to face the ceiling. Breathing nice and softly. Feeling the echoes of the previous pose, powering this pose now. So while we focus on the breath, which draws our attention into the present moment, we keep focusing on the feelings within the pose. And then reach up, come back to the center, bring the feet parallel, and step or jump, feet back together, and then come back into Tadasana. So notice the feeling within the body, the kind of rising energy of the pose. Just continue to breathe deeply in through the nose all the way to the periphery of the lungs, maintaining the activation of the legs, of the torso, of the arms, of the shoulders, of the neck, of the head. Bring your arms out nice and wide in towards your chest, and then step or jump, go as wide as you can for prasarita, padottanasana. And then turn your toes inwards. So in this pose, we're just going to activate the legs and then come forward into the first stage of the pose. Just come down into this first stage of the pose. So we're not really paying much attention to the legs for the moment, not paying much attention to anything. Just come into the first stage of the pose. So just feel the legs. In this particular pose, sometimes this can really overwork my outer ankles, and I start to feel kind of a burning sensation around the outer ankles. And that's because I'm kind of letting that's when I let my weight kind of roll out to the outer edge of the foot. And that's to a certain degree an okay action, but it becomes really heavy on the legs and it's not very pleasant. So I'm going to stamp my little toes into the floor and suck the outer thighs inwards. So you suck these outer thighs in and then project into the chest like you're a tube of toothpaste. To be on fingertips. Suck the outer thighs inwards and you suddenly get lightness in the legs. Breathe nice and softly. Be soft in the jaw and the tongue, maybe have a little smile. Breathe in nice and softly, in through the nose and out through the nose, sucking those outer thighs inwards. So at this stage, if you can extend into the spine, if you can keep the front chest really long, come down into the next stage, keeping the front chest long so that when you come down, your head is close to the floor. If you can't reach the floor, then put a block or some folded blankets underneath your head. So find this next stage and then just be in the pose and breathe into the pose. Observe the new sensations of the pose. So whichever, if you're just staying at the first stage, then just observe the sensations of the pose. If you can, then you reach around the outsides of the ankles, pulling the ankles inwards a little, sucking the outer thighs inwards. There should be very little weight on your head. It should be you should be activating the legs, hitting from the heels up into the seat bones. Breathe and observe the sensations of the body. Try not to hunch your shoulders towards your ears. Lengthen your shoulders away from your ears. So keep the legs activated so that there's not lots of weight on your head. Breathe in deeply. Breathe into the periphery of the lungs. Feeling the sensations within the body, feeding the energy of the pose. Okay, come back to the first stage. And then bring the heels of the hands down onto the floor, bend your knees, and then step or jump your feet inwards, and then come up into the standing position. Just be in Tadasana, and then raise your arms up, Ergohastasana, palms facing each other, arms shoulder width apart if you can, but if you can't straighten your arms, go wider so you can straighten your arms. Just feeling the new sensations of the pose. It's almost as though there's a fire of energy within. Release your arms. And then just come down onto all fours. Just bring your hands shoulder width apart, step back a little, turn your toes under, have your feet hip width apart. And then just come up into dog down, just feeling how the sensations from the previous pose can power the pose. Maintaining that breadth of depth of breath. Just observing the new sensations of the pose. Learning to feel the pose helps us to see the pose. And that's not just seeing with our eyes, it's seeing with the cognitive brain, the intellectual body. And we learn how to open up our energy. So the petals of yoga, the first 5 petals of yoga are yama and niyama. The yama are the kind of ethical principles that we live by. Niyama are the ways in which we kind of incorporate those into our lives, if you like. Asana is the 3rd petal of yoga, and it's the physical pose. Pranayama is the 4th petal of yoga, and it's our energy. And then the 5th petal of yoga is pratyahara. It's the withdrawing of the senses. It's drawing the senses inward so that we can kind of reach into concentration and meditation. Dhyana and dharana. Okay, and then just reach the knees back down onto the floor and sit back on your heels. Lifting and opening the chest, just sitting back on your heels for a moment, just letting the legs recover. So this is a good position for tired legs. So if you've been walking a lot, your asana will kind of refresh your legs. Just continue to breathe, almost as though you're inflating the entire body. So we've got yama and niyama and asana and pranayama and pratyahara, and then dhyana, dharana, so concentration and meditation. And then we get a little glimpse into the blissful existence of samadhi. Just come forwards, just stretch into Adho Mukha Virasana a moment, just keeping your focus and concentration on the sensations within the pose and how they blend one from the next. Maintaining the depth and the breadth of the breath. Okay, and then just sit back on your heels, just stretch your legs out for a moment, and then we're going to do a little bit of pranayama. So sit yourself on your lift to have something to sit on, and then just stretch your legs out in front, and then just kind of wriggle yourself into dandasana. So when I say wriggle yourself in, I mean make sure that the hips feel level on the lift. Make sure that you lengthen evenly out of both hips, from the hips into the heels and the hips into the chest. So bring your legs wide for siddhasana. So we're going to get your hand into the back of the right leg, into the back of the right knee, and then point the toes, and then bring the foot as close into the body as you can, and then bring the top of the foot onto the floor so that the sole of the foot is looking upwards. So this heel should line up with your belly button, and this knee should still be on the floor. Get your hand into the back of the left knee, and then again point the toes, and then bring the foot in front of the other one. So you might want to shuffle slightly off your lift. So these heels should be level. The knees should be on the floor. If the knees are kind of lifted slightly, sit a little bit higher. So just feel that these heels rather, are in line. So they're in line with the belly button, in line with the nose and the forehead and the chin, and then just grip around the knees and lift the chest. So you can just stay at this stage if you want to. If you've got kind of problematic ankles or knees, then this is probably the version of the pose that you should remain in. If you want to go a little further, you kind of plant the feet. So you draw between the calf muscle and the thigh, and then you bring the front foot forwards, and you plant all of the toes, the big toes and all of the toes between the thigh and the calf, and then reach through, get hold of the big toe, and then pull it through the calf and the thigh so that it stays in position. If it doesn't, let me just try that again. It slipped out. So then you try and draw that through so that it stays bound within the calf and the thigh. Just make sure that you feel level underneath the seat bones. Grip around your knees and then lift and open the chest. Drive the shoulders down away from your ears. And then just focus on your breath, just even in breaths, even out breaths. You can close your eyes if it helps you to focus. So fill the lungs from the bottom to the top and empty the lungs from the top to the bottom. Breathe evenly into both lungs. Breathe evenly out of both lungs. If you notice that you're not breathing evenly, just see if you can adjust it. Listen to the sound of the breath. Notice that the in-breath has a different sound to the out-breath. So it's just normal breathing at the moment. Normal in-breaths, normal out-breaths. Feeling the air as it touches the sinuses. Observing the subtle difference between the in-breath, touching the inner, lower surface of the sinuses, and the out-breath that touches the upper, outer surface of the sinuses. Spend a few moments with the breath. Spend a few moments with the pose, feeling that you're evenly placed. If you don't feel that you are, then just adjust a little, just adjust the whatever you're sitting on. So this meditation cushion is quite pliable. So I just make sure that I feel evenly placed. So we're going to do a few rounds of Viloma pranayama, and that really employs this idea of the in-breath rising from the bottom of the lungs to the top of the lungs, but we really think about from the bottom of the perineum, so it's like an apanic breath from the bottom of the perineum rising up to the collarbone, and then the out breath rising or going down into the perineum. So in this first stage, just focus on that feeling of rising from the perineum to the collarbone and from the collarbone down to the perineum with the out breath. So just continue to breathe in that manner. So if it's becoming uncomfortable, you can just release the feet out of the binding. Just sit within the first stage of siddhasana. So the first stage of Viloma pranayama, it's an interrupted breath. It literally translates as kind of against the hair. So we imagine we're walking up and down a ladder, and the first stage is interrupted in-breath. So we kind of take a normal out breath, and then I'll just explain first, and then you breathe in a little bit and then just hold. So you walk to the first rung of the ladder and then you hold. Without exhaling, you inhale again and hold, and you continue to walk up that ladder until the lungs feel full, and then you end with a normal out breath. So it's an interrupted in breath to start with, so just keep the eyes closed. Take a normal out breath and then start the interrupted out breath. So it could be 4 or 5 interruptions, maybe even just 3. In between, breathe in, gently hold without any tension around the diaphragm or around the temples. And then breathe in again without first exhaling. And then we continue in that manner until we fill the lungs with air completely. So you can continue, and then it's just a normal out breath. So you can continue with continuous cycles of normal out breath and interrupted in breath. That doesn't work for you, if it makes you feel kind of uncomfortable or slightly anxious, then just do one cycle and then some normal breathing, and then go back to the next cycle. So just take it at your own rate. So whenever you hold, it's a gentle hold, never a grip. And then bring the breath back to a normal rhythm. So normal in breaths, normal out breaths. And then we're going to release our feet. So just release the big toe and release the front leg, that left leg, and then just stretch your legs out in front. Just rearrange on the lift and then just bring the legs, just flex the heels, lengthen the legs away. Just breathe in nice and softly in through the nose and out through the nose. Bring your feet wide apart, and this time you're going to bring the left leg in first. So the top of the foot, you point the toes, the top of the foot comes onto the floor, heel facing upwards, and then bring the right leg in front. So you can either stay at this stage, and if you found it difficult to stay in the previous version, it's better to just stay at this stage and be able to stay than have to feel that you kind of need to wriggle about. But if you do want to put the toes between the calf and the thigh, then do, and then get hold of the big toe as well and pull that through so that there's a bind in action. And then come back into just normal breathing. So the second stage of Viloma is the interrupted out breath. So it's a normal in breath, and you walk down the ladder and stop and hold. But it's not, these are just incremental breaths each time. So you're not breathing out completely. You're just breathing out and then holding, and then breathing out and then holding until the lungs are empty, and then follow that with a normal breath. So the in-breath still rises up, the out-breath kind of walks itself down the ladder. So the pause is just a second or two. So you can close your eyes if you want to, or keep them open, just looking at something that doesn't move. Take a normal out-breath, and then a normal in-breath, and then interrupt the out-breath. So you go until the lungs are empty. So allowing the in-breath to fill out to the periphery of the lungs. Just one more. And then follow with a normal in-breath and a normal out-breath. Just observing that you've absorbed energy from the breaths. There's a lightness of being that comes from the Viloma. The next stage is to interrupt the in-breath and the out-breath, but we're not going to have time for that. So just gently release your legs, just stretch your legs out in front, just to bring energy back into the legs, just gently flexing the heels. So they feel a little bit like you've been in Virasana for a while, don't they? So just flexing the heels, lifting and opening the chest. Just breathing deeply in through the nose and out through the nose. And then when you're ready, just gently bring yourself into Shavasana. So have a blanket for your head. Just make sure that it's kind of well folded. So we might just slightly run over, if that's okay, maybe just a minute or two. Just lay yourself down the center of your mat with the blanket touching your shoulders. Just take your glasses off if you're wearing them. Just let yourself release into the floor. So unhook your muscles, allow the body to become heavy. Just focus on deep inhalations, deep exhalations, but normal breathing now. Just feeling as you release into the floor, letting the body become heavy, that your energy rises to the uppermost skin. Almost like helium trying to lift the body up off the floor. Use the in-breath and the out-breath to distribute that energy evenly around your body, into the tips of the toes, the tips of the fingers, the top of the head. So Viloma pranayama brings calmness and energy to the body and to the mind. It evens out anxiety and brings calmness in its place. Begin to wiggle your toes, wiggle your fingers. And then draw your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just giving yourself a gentle massage on the spine, just a grounding massage, just bringing yourself back into your body. And then roll over onto your right side, just stay down for a breath or two. And then straighten out the top leg, come back up into the seated position. Just cross legs with your hands in the Namaste, just a final spinal lift. Draw the breath in through your nose, down into your abdomen, a samanic breath. Just be conscious of the energy that you've released through your practice this morning, that good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions, the forward bends, the twists, the inversions bring to the body and to the mind. Then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Spend a moment to acknowledge the feeling of positive energy. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. Release the backs of your hands down towards your knees, palms facing upwards, and as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open. Focus to softly come back. Just grip around your knees, lift and open the chest. Take a good, strong, deep inhalation. With the exhalation, just gently turn to the right side. Come back to the center, grip around the knees, lift and open the chest, drive the spine upwards. Take a good deep in breath. With the out breath, turn to the left. And then come back to the center. Thank you very much. Thank you. So hopefully you feel like you've given yourself this kind of feeling of effervescence on the inside, a bit of lightness on the inside, and you've got lots of positive energy to bring into your day. So thank you very much.